Hey guys, thank you for checking out this video. All of the products that I will be using in this video are going to be linked below in the description, so be sure to check that out and enjoy. Thank you. I'm listening to videos on my laptop while I record this video, so if I occasionally burst out laughing, it's just because I'm listening to Unis Honest in the background. And if you don't know what Unis Honest is, you had to be there. Hello everyone, this is Addison. Welcome to my YouTube channel. This is my first video in quite a while. I will be showing you guys how I did my makeup for my clown cosplay. I'm not specifically calling it my Harley Quinn cosplay. Yes, it was inspired by Harley Quinn, but I didn't want to directly rip her off. But Harley Quinn is a queen, so I had to credit her in some way because she is a goddess, and she was a good bit of the inspiration for this, along with some other things. This look was also inspired by another girl who did a look similar to this, but unfortunately I just found the photo. I could not find the name of the artist, so I will try to include that photo somewhere in this video. And if you guys find it, if you find who that photo belongs to, please feel free to comment and let me know so I can give them their due credit. Okay, so I did this whole video with a regular foundation, just like a regular base on, so we're gonna start with that. So the first thing I'm gonna be doing is putting primer on, which is obviously one of the first things you should always do when you're applying your makeup, is to apply your primer. This primer that I'm using is a NYX primer. It's Marshmellow primer. It's mainly meant for smoothing out your makeup, but whenever I'm actually going to be going out in a cosplay, I like to use something that's a little more, I like to use something that's a little bit more long staying. So what I've done is I've put my primer on and I loaded my puppy, this thing, I loaded it up with lots of powder, kind of spread it around in there. You can see the powder coming off of that, and we're just gonna powder the absolute crap out of that base, just so the makeup isn't super slippy slidey. Now typically after you do that, you're gonna want to spray your face with your any primer water that you have, like primer spray, but now would be the time to set your powder with the spray. And then once you finish that, then you're gonna cover it with another layer of powder, a good solid layer of powder. So now I'm just gonna do my foundation. Pretty basic, pretty easy. Everybody does their foundation different, so I'm not gonna tell you how to do yours, so I'm just gonna skip forward in time, and by the time that you see me, I will already have my makeup on. I should also add that I'm not using any concealer. A lot of people, when they do their makeup, prefer to use concealer. This foundation that I'm using is, it doubles as a concealer. I'm doing the Urban Decay All Nighter. For me, I'm using the shade 1.5, which is either the very lightest or the second lightest shade they have. Oh, I just totally like beauty blended my naked eyeball. Alright, and before we put anything on our eyes, we're going to be going in with the, this is an old favorite of mine. I've had this, I've not had this specific one, but I've used this primer for a really long time. It's the Urban Decay Primer Potion. I swear by it. So since I have a horrible memory and I don't remember exactly what my makeup looks like, we are gonna look up a photo of that. To depression does really horrible things to your brain. Take care of yourselves. Okay. So now that we've taken care of all of that, all of this right here, we're gonna go ahead and powder the entire thing. Some people like to use the translucent powder. Some people like to use just your regular face powder. I recommend using face powder that matches to your skin tone. So now what we are going to do, now that we've powdered our makeup, I'm gonna go ahead and start the eyes. We're gonna take a break from the face. So I like the cat eye look. I have hooded eyes, so I don't really like doing liner. So instead of doing liner, I do my eyeshadow in kind of a cat eye look. So to get that super sharp edge, I use Scotch tape. It may take a few times to get it perfectly placed, and you just gotta make sure that it's even on both sides. Well, that's a problem. Where in the ever-loving curse word? Okay, sorry about that. As I was saying, using my James Charles palette, I rely on this thing for a lot of things. Effects makeup, beauty makeup, anything of the sort. So we're going to mainly be using these colors in this corner right here, obviously, since it's mostly like purple and pink that we're going for. I'm gonna go ahead and start with this kind of fuchsia magenta color right here. Tap off that excess powder. We're gonna lightly dust that all over our crease. When I say lightly, I just mean careful, like as far as blending goes. Not really light, but just careful. If you guys know your Morphe palettes, you know that these colors kind of go in a little bit heavy, so just really make sure and blend that out. I'm gonna do that on the other side. So now we're just making sure that each side matches in intensity. One's not lighter than the other. Just really make sure that that is nice and blended. Even though I'll say for this specific makeup look, we're not too worried about the actual blending aspect of it, just because we're going to do a lot of crazy clown makeup. So maybe a little bit messy is okay. All right, now that we've got the pinkish magenta, we're gonna go in with just one of these darker purples right here. I'm gonna start with this one. We're gonna go a little bit below where we put that pink. And if you notice, I'm not really bothering to dust off the product for this part, just because we really want that purple to be very concentrated. So I put that purple on. Now I'm taking that same brush that I used for the pink, and I'm using it to blend that even further. So as you can see, I'm really taking my time with that. Just going in and packing that color, and then blending it out, and then going back in and packing a little bit more color and blending it out again. And I just do that over and over until I've got the desired effect that I want with that blend. All right, so now that we've gotten about how we want it, I'm gonna go in with an even darker color, which is this dark purple right here. We were using this one, now we're going to use this one. We're going to do exactly what we did before. We're going to pack it into that inner corner just a little bit below where we did before, even lower. And I'm dragging my makeup across to the middle of my eye, but the darker I go, the smaller I keep that little patch of eyeshadow. So once we've done that, instead of swiping to blend, we're going to pat to blend because we want the dark purple to be as concentrated as possible. So there is a little bit of a swiping motion there, but it's more about patting for your blend. So guys, in case you didn't understand quite what I meant there, the lighter the color, the fluffier the brush. You're going to blend with the lightest color, then you're going to dab your brush into a darker color, go just a little bit below on the eye where you put that lighter color, and every time you go darker, you're going further down on your eye. And the darker you go, the more intense you want the color to be. So when we get down to the inner corner where the darker color is, we're going to start patting on the color instead of swiping it to blend it, because we want the color to be really intense. So now that we've got that, we're going to go in, and in the middle to the inner corner, we're just going to do a little bit more blending, just to kind of drag that color more towards the inner corner, like this. Just like that. And for the last step with the dark eyeshadow, now we're going to be switching it up. We're going to take this dark, we're going to be taking this dark blue right here, and we're going to put it in the exact same place as that dark purple, just to kind of give it a little bit of a color shift. So with the darker shades, we're going to be concentrating those darker shades more on that outer corner right there in that eye socket. It's just going to give our eyes a little bit more dimension, a little bit of a deeper look right there in that outer corner. And then we want to slowly get lighter as we go out towards the middle of the eyeball. So now with that, we're going to go ahead and peel off this tape and just make sure that that line is super straight and how we want it. Excuse me. Yeah, looking good, looking good. So we got a little bit of eyeshadow there. It shouldn't be a problem. Normally you can just kind of like dab that out with your foundation, or you can just kind of flick it off with your makeup brush. I'm not too worried about it because we're going to be blushing it up later anyway. So for the eyelid, just because I want this to be a pretty dramatic look, we're going to be dabbing some white on the eyelid and then immediately dabbing it over with some white eyeshadow to kind of set that, and then we're going to put whatever other color we want on there. So just to make it super dramatic, we're going to be using the Crown White face paint. It's just like a cream paint by Mehron. And we're going to be, I'm just going to take a little bit of that on my middle finger right here. We're going to dab it onto the lid like this. You don't want to bring it too far over into the dark. We're mainly focusing on the inner corner as well as the middle of the eye, but not the outer corner. You can take another finger and just kind of dab to blend like this. You can use a brush if you feel like it, but I've just found that this works for me using my fingers. So now we're going to take some white eyeshadow and we're just going to dab the eyeshadow on top of that face paint to set it. Like that. So we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Alright, so we're going to dab some white eyeshadow on top of that as well. Looks good. So like I said, I don't like to use eyeliner just because I have very hooded eyes, so you wouldn't be able to see it anyway. But now would be the time to go ahead and add your winged liner if you wanted to. But I probably will not be doing that, so I'm going to go ahead and start on the lower lash line. So for the lower lash line, I'm using a smaller brush, So for the lower lash line, we're going to be using that same technique that we used on the eyeshadow. The further out away you are from your lower lash line, the lighter the color you're going to use. And the further you move in towards your lash line, the darker the color you're going to use. It's going to give you more dimension for your lower lash line. It's just going to really make it pop. And you can take that fluffy brush and blend it out just a wee bit, not too much. Now that we are finished with most of the eye, we're going to go ahead and go in with that lash line. This is optional. A lot of people don't like putting makeup in their lash line, but I'm going in with the NYX Jumbo Eye Pencil in just bright white. We're going to put some white in that lash line instead of doing dark, because this opens up our eyes, makes it look really, really dramatic. Like a clown. This is also good for just making your eyes look a lot bigger than they are. Just like that. Yes, ma'am. Now we're gonna do that on the other side. So guys, that was just kind of a demonstration on how you would do the lower lash line if you were just trying to do pretty eyeshadow and not exactly doing a clown makeup look. So here I'm continuing with the clown makeup, and it's in super speed motion because I end up really messing it up. So I just left this in to show you guys that not everything goes as planned while I'm filming these videos. And here in a second you'll see me, well, you'll see. Yeah, didn't end up looking how I wanted it to. So watch me slowly die inside as I decide to wipe it all off and do it again. Okay, so after I found that that wasn't going the way that I planned, I wiped it all off and we're about to try again. So we're doing the same thing. We're gonna go in with that magenta color. I'm gonna go ahead and carve out our shape. So we're kind of going for like a triangular shape, you know, just like that typical clown looking makeup. So once again, for this part of the makeup, on the underneath part of the eye and over the eye, we're going to be using that same technique of just blending out with a lighter color. Further in you go, the darker the color you use. So with this blend, I've noticed that if I do my blending and stuff, and to get that point on the bottom, I blend and I swipe it downward, like that. So it just gets that nice little point. Do the other side real quick. Okay, so now we've done that on the underneath, we're gonna go ahead and do the exact same thing up above. As I said, not everything goes according to plan when filming these videos. Okay, so I did some of my makeup and then I realized my camera wasn't filming. I'm filming the rest of this on my Canon camera. So let's try this again. Now for this part of the makeup, we're just drawing the really long black triangles underneath my eyes. It takes me quite a few tries to get it all even because I have a very unsteady hand. But for this, we're just using a black water activated paint. So just to kind of seal that, I'm going to dab it a little bit with some black eyeshadow. Just kind of like right here where my makeup tends to crease. Just like that. And we'll do the other side. Okay, that's looking good, so now we're going to do that on the top. So this time we're going to do a little bit of a wider triangle because we're going to be finishing the middle with white. So now that we've gotten those mostly even, we're going to go ahead and do the dot up above. So instead of painting the dot in with the brush, I like to take the other end of the brush and stick it into the face paint. Kind of wipe all the excess off. And we're going to put the dot directly above that point. Let's see if I can get this in frame. Just like that. So now, just to make everything a lot more dramatic, we're gonna go ahead and pencil in the eyebrows just with straight up black. Sisters, not twins. So now would be the time to apply any extra liner that you want to, or to add any lashes. I couldn't find my lashes, of course, so I am just applying a little bit of mascara. And before I forget, we're going to go ahead and do that white on the top half of our makeup. And we're just making a slightly smaller triangle inside of that black triangle using the Clown White face paint, the cream paint from earlier. I would set this with a translucent powder afterwards. Just know that anytime I'm doing my makeup and I do like some really cool makeup for a photo shoot, just know that it consists of like 3 hours of me going back and forth, you know, fixing and unfixing things because I have a super unsteady hand. Okay, so that's all of that. So we've got the eyes done. Now we're going to go ahead and just add a little bit of contour, a little bit of blush. Okay, so I'm going to do a little bit of highlighting. This is just kind of personal choice. Doesn't mean that you have to do, you know, all of this just like this. For the highlight, I'm using the KVD Alchemist Palette. Just adding a little bit to my inner corners. Oh, and I'm also using a mix between the Amethyst and the Peak. So for the lipstick, you know, obviously we're going for that clown theme, so we're going to do it very overdrawn, you know, very dramatic. First things first, we're going to just draw it on like regular lipstick, and then after that we're going to start overdrawing. So now for the next step, you're going to need kind of a thin pencil liner brush, and we're just going to take a little bit of that lipstick. We're going to draw our lines out of the corner. So now that we've got our lines on each side, we're going to kind of start drawing in those corners a little bit, like this. Okay, so this right here is definitely more of a personal choice thing. What I like to do after I've gotten all the lips taken care of is I like to kind of dab the inner corners, or the outer corners, with a little bit of black, like this. Okay, so we've got the finished makeup, so now all we need is the hair. So let me just do some magic. 1, 2, 3. Okay, we've got the hair done. Now we just need a awesome outfit. There we have it. I've got the full makeup for my Harley Quinn / clown cosplay. I don't really have an official name for it, so thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.